couple weeks ago I experimented with this new video format where you don't really see me as if I was loop up, but I'm still here doing a voiceover and pausing the video. And today let's talk about transitions. A lot of people ask me about it. So today's video is a deep dive look at how to transition. Hey and welcome, I'm Analog Kitchen and thank you for checking out yet another video. Now if this is your first time here, don't hesitate to click subscribe and hit that notification bell. Whenever I upload a new video, you'll be kept in the loop and you'll not miss out on anything. Stick around till the end of this video. I will tell you all about the Dollars Bible. It's something that I've been working on and it's an ongoing thing. It's a project that keeps growing and you can find it on patreon.com/analogkitchen. Now, transitioning. As you can see, there's a lot of equipment on the desk and my current setup is much different from what you're seeing right here. But this is where I started. This is where I really started to transition and think on, if I'm doing a dollar setup, how can I go from one song into the next? Now you'll see that there is an RE20 pedal, there is a TB03, there is a mini tower, there's an Octatrack, there's an MPC Live, there's a Model D, then also there's an Audio Things Micro Monster, there is a MIDI clock, then there's a Tetra, and of course there's a TR909, which is only there for cosmetic duties, as I forgot to plug in the cable. You can see it right here, bottom. So stupid. But anyway, it worked out well. Now, the reason for me being in an empty warehouse is that I can solely focus on what's going on. Promoters can also focus on the way I perform, so instead of me standing there with a bunch of naked ladies, this is just me doing what I think I know how to do best. There's also a Zone 92 mixer in there. The arpeggio is coming from the Micro Monster, the top right corner. And you can see that I'm opening up a kick drum. The kick drum is coming out mono, by the way, because on the Zone mixer you got stereo DJ channels, but there are two mono channels, and that's absolutely amazing. So I've routed it so that on the 4 DJ channels I've got on the mixer, the TB03 is coming out of one of the channels. I've got the MPC coming out of one of the channels playing right now, so the strings that you're hearing is actually a sample that's being played by the MPC, and I'm going to switch over to the Octatrack in a second, but I've got multiple hypnotizing elements working, because how this works is everything works in layers. So now I'm going to take out the MPC and slowly entering the sample that's being played by the Octatrack. Now what I'm also going to do is I'm going to just add in more drums that are going to come from a different sequence on the MPC and slowly build up the track like that. So working in layers, it basically means you have to just look at this thing as a jigsaw puzzle. Everything that you add needs to really fit into the main thing. Now, I'm thinking of the kick to be the epitome of everything. And slowly I'm going to add more drums into the mix. And then I can emphasize certain things. So the TB03 is always in the background where you don't really hear it. And if I want you to hear it, I'll just open up the filter a little bit more. I still got more elements to introduce. Now what I love about the TB03 is the fact that it's got effects on board. You can really dial in the delay. I'm using delay, there's also reverb on there, but it's either or. So it's not like it's doing both. But I love the fact that that is possible. Now building anticipation. You can see me constantly lowering the kick drum on one of the mono channels on the mixer. And now I'm going to add in more drums. So I'm going to go to a different sequence again on the MPC. the thing that I do is once I introduce a sound, I always take out the kick drum so that there's room for the sound to really grow into the room. And I'm opening up the filter, I'm really showing a little bit of girth, a little bit of grit, so that people feel that there's adrenaline starting. And from the minute I'm going to enter the kick drum back into the room, I will then lower the filter again. And there are different things. There's a hierarchy of the sounds I want you to hear. So, the kick drum, very important. The clap and the hi-hats, very important for the groove. And then obviously, that 303 that keeps going. In the background. And then the bass line is what's making the melody right now. Everything else is groove. The only melody is the bass line. Very important. And now it's time to create my first drop. I'm really enjoying the tetra right now. So these chords are very analog, but at the same time very, you know, it's got that different sound than a Moog synthesizer, so I'm loving it. And another thing that I did is I introduce one thing and I take out something else. So the 303 is not playing at the moment. I can reintroduce that at a later stage and build a little bit more impact. So on the mixer, the far left fader is the return for the pedal, and the fader next to it is the kick drum, and then the first of the stereo channels is the rest of my drums. So I can always take out all the top end. Here comes the 303. So now we got three things playing: the melody on the bass line on the Model D, the TB03 to add a little bit of that polymetric stuff, and then stabby chords coming out of the tetra. Another thing I didn't introduce was the Novation Launch Control XL there. I've got a drum roll sitting there, and I've got a ride cymbal also sitting there that are being mapped away from the MPC, so I can address different drum sounds. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to work up to my first transition. I've got a bonus pattern on which that there's a vocal that's going to be coming in that feels as if I'm adding it to this track, but really it's the transition pattern into the next track starts here. What I'm doing is I'm going to fade stuff out. So the TB03 is going down. The Model D is no longer playing, and I'm going to focus solely on that vocal. And then when I switch the drums out, the vocal keeps running. So it's not so drastic that another track has started. There's something that plays on my octa track that gives you an indication of where you are in the groove. I'm going to make it drop first. on the TB03, I've made patterns that run accordingly. So I know track 1, my first song on my octa track, the TB03 is also going to do that same thing on the first track. Big impact sound on the octa track. And the TB03 is running, but it's not running in sync. At least it's not getting a program change. So I'm going to manually engage the second pattern there. There you go. Engage the next pattern. I know it's playing. And now I can introduce the TB03. Now when I'm engaging the second track, note that there's no clap. I've got just a bare bone groove going, and I'm also sticking on the same root note. So the bass line goes boom, 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 boom. So there's a bass note that I've sampled, and then the TB03 is really taking the lead right here. Delay here, kick out. Going to add in more drums. Time for another drop. Introducing the Tetra right here. Loving the filter. I'm not using it too much nowadays as I managed to screw up the filter knob again. I'm renowned for destroying filter sounds. As you can see a red knob on the Minitar. That's another filter knob that I have destroyed. Anyway, open it up. Release. Bam, 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 bam. Open up release on the Tetra, and then when all the drums are playing, I'm going to make it nice, short, and snappy. I'm dancing, so I'm feeling it. Here you go. Bam, 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 go. And now I'm going to introduce a drop with a lot of melody. This sound is the Minitar, by the way. Would you believe it? I'm going to switch the sound around a little bit, just do a little bit of sound design on the fly so you can hear what is possible. Add in the Tetra. You still hear the 303 in the background? The pedal is on a send. That's why I can engage the reverb. So the RE20 is getting fed by the sand on top of the Zone mixer. There's the Model D. Although it's very important to dance here, I'm doing a little bit of that octave 1 groove, I think. I'm really feeling it. Very awkward to look at it myself, I must add, anyway. So again, I'm going to that steady one note kind of chord, playing around with the 303 as a decoy. Going overboard with it here. So the clap is gone again. Now there's only a fragment of the vocal left, turning off the 303 with a multi-clock. And the way I designed the sounds and what's playing, it's also a big puzzle. You have to really work on a groove that works. Okay, next one. This also helps. This is a transition to a track in the same chord, so people don't really, in the same key, I should say, so people don't really hear that you are transitioning. Okay. Swap the 303 out, so there's another 303 line going. Taking things a little bit more into underground territory here. Nice and hypnotizing. And I'm going to add more drums in. Listen to the transience and the brightness. Now I've created a bit of a wall of sound that I really like. There is a mistake that's going to happen here. I was to engage a little bit more reverb. So on the next run, I'm going to add more reverb on that lead sound, so that it sounds a little bit more dreamy almost. Here you go. Which was my intention. But accidents happen and you have to embrace them as well, right? And back to something basic again. Basic groove. So I know that this really just like pumps hard on a big sound system. And I can just extend that a little bit. Probably going to add a little bit 303 in the mix, I guess. Really enjoying this groove. It's very basic, it's very sparse, but at the same time I know that this works. Now, I'm going to transition into something with a vocal, and there's another mistake because there's more music playing than I anticipated. One thing that I've learned is if something goes wrong, make the best of it. So I'm not going to drastically take out sounds or whatever. Just going to open up a little bit, knowing that if the kick drum comes in, all will be forgiven. Again, building anticipation with an arpeggio, and then underneath I'm going to add a bass line. A thing I would suggest is to, when you introduce something, run with it for a while and see how it sits with yourself. Now I'm going to add another arpeggio, but that's not going to work if the notes are going to be the same length. So I'm going to shape the length of the sounds on the minitar. And now I would like to have the people really hear what I'm doing. Playing around with the envelopes with the note lengths. Open up the tetra, the arp. Drums back in. So I'm staying in that hamster wheel position right now. Holding pattern, if you will. Now slowly I'm going to tone it down. See how much is left of the drums and how I can make them sound. strong thing to do is to add weird sounds. So certain things that really are hypnotizing but are not so easy to pinpoint on what it is. That's really a cool idea. So for this next transition, I'm going to add in more and more crazy sounds. That's one thing I like about the Tetra. It got these really otherworldly sounds, as well as it being an absolutely fantastic synthesizer. You can make all these really weird sounds with. Now, this is the last track that I'm going to leave you with today. The set in itself is longer, but I think this explains a lot. So, enjoy the vibe. This is the last drop. The set is much longer. It's on the side, obviously. It's up on YouTube. But I hope this clears up a lot of stuff. That's just the way I do it. This is very extensive now. I'm doing it differently with the current setup, but that's also something. Go to patreon.com/analogkitchen to get your copy of the Dawless Bible. Me talking about all these different things and addressing certain things. Now, it's early days. It's still growing and growing and growing. It will be something that is never finished. I will always keep adding stuff to the Dawless Bible. So, thank you for watching. you made it this far into the video, you sir remember an absolute superstar. I'm on location, and I'm out. Peace.